Are recording. And
Okay.
Heidi's getting ready to jump on here too, Jim.
Perfect.
There she is. She's connecting now.
There, I'll show you guys. Here, and this is my guy all the way at West Point now.
Hey, congratulations.
Wow, perfect. Cool.
Good to see
He
you
can
guys.
listen in. This will be good.
I'll let him go, but this is
Oh,
what-
it's a West Point call. Keep him on.
first day back to West Point. First day back.
Love it.
All right.
Love it. Love it. Proud mom.
All right.
All right, I'll let you guys. You guys go ahead. I'll be right there. I'm just gonna put
Okay.
this on there. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So, hey, Rod, let me
Yes.
jump in and then I'll let you give the details. But thank you for, let's see where I'm at. Thanks for hosting tonight, by the way.
Oh, of course.
For all of our members, for the recording, we're always trying to strive to do more, to offer more, to be better. And tonight, we're going to announce some of our great opportunities and things that we're doing and offering for next year. And as soon as I jump off, I will send in the text thread a digital version of these items. But I'll give the highlights. Rod, it's tough for me to toggle back and forth. So if you want during the call, you can kind of give a few more details towards the tail end of the call after your study. But the bottom line is some of the highlights are we are going to be having an event up here in Montana, May 21st through the 23rd. It is in conjunction with a much larger event where there'll be other speakers from around the country. Rod, myself, and Rachel will be speaking, and we will be doing a version of a very nice dinner. Riley, I need to talk to you about that. Hopefully we can utilize the Copper Kitchen and have some Reminisce Angus beef. So more details to follow on that, but mark your calendars, May 21st through the 23rd. We will hijack a portion of a bigger event that will be at the Wacholtz Center. So nice stage, great venue to be at, and do some more entrepreneurial stuff. Some of the other things that we're doing is we are going to highlight a member once a month on these calls. So we will be reaching out to different members and saying, hey, hop on, talk for a few minutes about your business, what you're doing, what you want to offer. Maybe you want to throw some discounts out there. So we're going to be doing that, as well as we're going to be coming out with a monthly newsletter where we're going to open that newsletter up to any member that wants to send in content, a paragraph, a little bit about your business. So this is an opportunity for you to promote your business amongst the community, but as well as our entire email database. I know I have over 18,000 people in my email database. Rachel's pretty far up there too, above 10,000. So this is going to be exposure for you and your brand way, way beyond this community. So that's another item, as well as highlighting members in these calls. The other thing is that we're going to be doing more of proactive opportunities with people in the group in terms of investing, spending money with, sending more referrals. So there's tons of options for us to be vested in your business. Okay, let's see what else I got in here. Newsletter, weekly commitments. Rod, what am I missing?
We're going to have more content on the back end,
Yes.
building out more resources.
Yep. So right now, if you're not aware, we have a ton of resources on the back end on the website. Nobody's checked in a long time. If you haven't, there's business plan models back there. There's budget models back there. There's marketing materials back there. But we'll be adding 12 new pieces of content in the next couple weeks, or I'd say within the next month. And that becomes more resources for you. A lot of my outside of this group paying clients, they ask me for the same things that you guys get for free on the back end, and they actually pay a lot of money for that stuff. So know that it's there, know that it's growing. We'll be sending an index out of all the items that we have on there so that if you can't find it, you'll know what's there. And then finally, our commitment in 2025 is to continue to do what we're doing. As you can see from some of these activities I just told you about, we are ramping up. We are not slowing down in our coaching efforts. And we're really looking forward to digging in even harder than what we had before. As we've all said, or you've heard on the podcast with Rod and I, 2025 is going to be an epic year. So don't waste that opportunity. Jump in even heavier, harder, whatever that looks like for you. We're here for you. And that's it in a nutshell. So Rod, thank you again.
You bet, Jim. I think you hit it all. More details will be coming on most of that stuff. In fact, Jim's going to text out everything he covered, and we will be filling in details in the future. But we're excited, and we're even going to be doing some Shark Tank events for you guys to help you launch your own brands, perhaps get more investment if you need it. But it'll be good experience for any and all of you regardless. So that's the exciting part right there. And the other thing is you should all know, we record these calls obviously, but we are doing a little bit different format for at least the first 32 weeks of this year. We are structuring our calls based on getting back to the basics. And I'll talk about more of that in just a little bit. So I'm going to launch into tonight's talk. I'm going to try and cap this at 30 minutes. So I'll be as close to that, but there's a lot of content here. So without further ado, I'm going to start this right now. Oh, Jim said he forgot to mention guest speakers. Yes, on our calls, we will have, it won't just be the talking heads of Jim, Rachel, and Rod. We will have some guest speakers. I know we've done, I think, one last year. We will be doing more guest speakers on a regular basis. We're probably looking at 1 a quarter guest speakers that'll be coming up, and we will be announcing those as we get close to time. So I think that's the details. Now we're going to launch into, let me see here, making sure I've got everything. And I think that's it. Okay, so let's get the call started tonight. We are going to be dealing with business plan basics. And the first part of this series is, it's going to be a 4-lesson component. And the first part of this is under business formation. And one of the first things under business formation, of course, is a business plan. And I want to say right off the bat, you know, if we've all heard that if you build it, they will come. Well, that only works in the movies. You can build it, but they're not going to come if you don't put more work and effort and thought into it up front and going forward. So remember, if you build it, they will come is only make-believe. It's only Hollywood. You are going to have to do some effort and work and then be committed to that. So first part of this is basics, but it's fundamental. So details are going to be in what we're doing here, starting from the beginning. You got a business idea? Those of you who already have a business, this is the first part of the year. So it is a great time, an absolutely perfect time to reevaluate your business plan. Whether you've had your business for a year, 2 years, 3 years, or you're just thinking about starting it up. So what is a business plan? Startups, entrepreneurs, small businesses create business plans to guide them as their new company progresses. Larger organizations create or update their business plans to keep high-level goals, financials, and their timelines in check. So those are the reasons we have a business plan. That's where it all begins. Secondly, your business plan is going to help you determine your company's viability, its profitability, its goals, its finances, and it's going to help you outline where you're going to get a return on that profit. It also will help you know how much money you need to invest, how much you need to get from investors, etc. So in turn, your business plan can function with that kind of value as well. So not only does it outline goals to keep you accountable on a timeline, it can actually attract investors and give you an effective strategy for growth. That's why a business plan. So let's jump right in. Business plan steps. There are 10 steps that you need to be looking at in any business plan. And we're going to jump into details on these. And again, I'm not going to go a full deep dive on these, but it's going to be enough to give you a really good idea of the questions you should be asking and looking at your business plan to say, have I addressed that situation? Do I need to readdress it? And The first one is an executive summary. That's going to be kind of like your acknowledgement at the very beginning. You're giving a snapshot view of what the contents are. Why does somebody want to look at this? This is your introduction. So we've all heard that, people make that snap judgment within just a matter of seconds when they meet a new person. One chance to make a good first impression. Your executive summary is your first impression. Excuse me, that's somebody's first impression of your business. The second step is description of your business. Third is a market analysis. Fourth is a competitive analysis. Fifth is description of the organizational management. Sixth is description of the product or services, followed by a marketing plan, a sales strategy, funding details, and finally, financial projections. So those are the 10 components that should be in every business plan. And now we're going to jump in and hit these one at a time, put a little bit of meat on that skeleton so you can see that it actually is tangible and doable, and hopefully the reasons why. So again, let's start with number one, the executive summary. That will always be the first section of a business plan. The goal of your executive summary is to answer the following questions. What is the vision and mission of your company? Okay, that's simple. What is your vision and your mission? And secondly, what are the company's short and long-term goals? What are you trying to accomplish and on what timeline? So think about what is the most valuable and relevant information for your specific audience. Now, your specific audience might be investors. It might be a bank. It might be, if you're out looking for grants, those are the people that you're targeting this message to. But it should be the same. And you're going to see, and I'll even give you examples of, once you define what this is, it's going to help you fill in some of the blanks around all these other things, especially when we get into marketing and sales strategy. So having a great executive summary, really dialing in on who you are, what your business is, and who you want to help, who you're going to service ultimately, that needs to be in that executive summary. So don't take shortcuts. It seems simple, but an executive summary can actually get into some pretty heavy depth. So number two, your description of the business. What this goal and in this section is to define the realm, the scope, and the intent of your venture. To do so, you have to answer a few questions as clearly and as concisely as possible. Number one, what business are you in? And number two, what does your business do? So let's take a quick look. We'll look at the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate. Our business, okay, is to, it seems simple, but it's broad, right? But our business is to train, coach, develop, and inspire young entrepreneurs and leaders. And young entrepreneurs isn't just age, it's startups. You could be 70 years old and starting a business, or restarting a business, or relaunching your brand. So the second part of your description of your business should tell people what it is that you are doing and who it is you're doing it for. Okay? So in our case, young entrepreneurs, we train, coach, develop, and inspire. What does our business do? We coach, right? One-on-one. We have a platform, online Zoom. We network with one another. We also have a built-out curriculum for not only what we do here in our coaching group, but also for schools. Out school, homeschooling, as well as we've taught in public or private school. I've taught in the public school, and this all translates over to that. It's also a speaking and teaching platform, which we're developing as well. So that is all part of the description of our business. It seems simple, but it can move and move. These parts can start off one way and start changing trajectory, but you can look at the growth by defining what your business does. What is the mission of your business? That's going to help you establish where your growth opportunities are. So number three, a market analysis. And this is definitely important. You'll see that if you start going to look for investors or you're going to a banker, you're looking for other partners, for example, if you just want to partner up with somebody, a market analysis is essential. This provides evidence that you've surveyed and understand the marketplace and that your product or your service satisfies a niche in that market. To do so, you have to answer these questions. Who is your customer and what does that customer value? And this is where you're going to get into not just your great idea, but why it's a great idea. Why is your idea going to be a little bit different? You need to define that niche. Why are these people, this client base, why are they not being serviced or served by somebody else? What makes you an expert in your field to be able to help them get the help that they can't get somewhere else? So that market analysis is going to help you define your niche, and it's going to help you with your future marketing efforts as well. You'll see this all ties together. But you have to have a really good handle on your business and what that is. I'm going to use some other examples here as we get going too, just so that you can see it. Taking product or service. What we talked about with Young Entrepreneur Syndicate is a service, but if you had a product, let's say and I love this, drill bits. Let's say we want to make drill bits. What's the purpose of having a drill bit? Nobody needs a drill bit, right? What do you need a drill bit for? For a hole. People don't buy drill bits for drill bits. They buy them because they need a hole. They don't need a drill bit. They need a hole. And so let's say you need to manufacture drill bits. Well, if you're doing a market analysis, you're going to have to define who your customer is. Well, it's anybody who needs a hole, right? That can be anybody. And what does that customer value? They probably value quality. They probably value something that's going to actually drill the hole they want, the size they want, without breaking, which means what makes your product different? Are you offering better customer service? Are you making a higher quality product? Are you making something that will go through metal, through concrete, or wood? There are different kinds of bits. So you have to define if you're doing wood drill bits, who are your clients? They're probably going to be construction workers and carpenters. If you're doing metal drill bits, you're probably looking at steel workers, engineers, that sort of thing. So you have to define who that market is. And whether it's, again, service or a product, that's going to help you dial in on who they are and how you're going to market to them. Step 4 is your competitive analysis. And this is critical to set your business up for success, as well as if you're seeking investors, whether it's traditional banking, small business loans, or you're looking for investors, they're going to want to know that you've done your homework. Who are your competitors in the field? So in many cases, a business plan proposes not a brand new product or service. It can be something that disrupts the market. It can be something that you're just doing better or differently. You might have a more competitive version of something that somebody's already offering, whether it's features, pricing, integrations, all those sorts of things. What's currently available in that market niche, right? In this section, in the competitive analysis, you want to answer the following questions to show that your product or service stands out amongst the competition or your competitors. So number one, look at the market and find out who is your competition. Define who it is. Maybe there is no competition. And if that's the case, that's ideal. Maybe you've got something so brand new, so unique, or it's not being serviced in your area. That's perfect, but you still need to address it. Who is or isn't the competition? And if you do have competition, this is where we're going to drill down. This section really allows you to dig a little deeper. What does your competition do best? And what do they not do as well as you can do? So what is your unique value proposition in that competitive analysis? You need to be doing something different. Can you make it better? Can you do it better? Can you make it cheaper? Can you make it faster? Can you get it to the market better? Can you customize it? No one, maybe someone's not doing follow-up. Maybe they're not doing upgrades. Maybe they're not offering that customer service. Maybe they're not offering a warranty. Any of those things can set you apart from your competition, but you better know what your competition is or isn't offering. So a competitive analysis will really force you to dial in to what it is you do best and what you need to do better. So don't just think you can, again, build it and they will come. You need to understand that if someone's going to invest with you, partner with you, they need to understand you know this market. You need to understand your market, your clientele better than your competition does. That's going to give you that edge. And that's what we're here to help do, right? Make you better, find that edge. So number 5, we're blowing through this, halfway through. Description of your organizational management. And we're going to actually, there's going to be some follow-up in a couple of weeks. Rachel's going to be doing a class on structure, formation, and registration of business. And this is critical. And it doesn't mean that you're locked in. You can start off one way and then change that organization. But for a startup, you need to decide what your organizational management is going to look like. Investors are going to want to know who they're partnering with, who else is involved. So in this section, you need to write an overview of the team members and other key personnel who are integral to the success of your business. And then you need to list the roles, responsibilities, if possible, and note the hierarchy of that team structure. And remember this, every organization has to have a head. It can't have multiple heads, right? So there has to be a point person that's going to be in charge, somebody who's going to take those calls. You can have multiple heads, but there still has to be a structured hierarchy of how information flows, how decisions are made. And that is going to be critical for how you set your business up, your organizational management. Now, it can be simple. It can be a sole proprietor. I know we've got several people out here in the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate who are sole proprietors. We have partnerships. And most of you that are sole proprietors, think about this. You're really not. Because if something were to happen to you, and God forbid, I hate to even bring this up, but if something were to happen to a sole proprietor, that business still has assets. That business still exists on its own. It's going to go to the survivorship, whatever you have in a will. It's going to go to your next of kin. So your spouse is probably going to inherit that business, right? Or if you've got a partner, it's going to go to that partner. So you need to think of those things when you're structuring your business. Even as a sole proprietor, you need to be thinking about succession. How would this happen? If something were to happen, if you were debilitated, if you got laid up for a while, how is the business going to continue without you at the helm? Okay, so those are things to think about. Sole proprietorships, partnerships. If you're partnering with someone else, who defines the roles of the different people in that relationship? They need to be clearly defined. It needs to be set out. And it gets even easier, I think, when you become an LLC, a licensed legal company or a licensed legal corporation. And there are more details and legal aspects and tax reasons to look at those things. But when you do that, you have bylaws, you have articles of incorporation, and then you have bylaws that can spell all these things out even further. But you don't have to be incorporated to have an organizational structure that has a list of expectations of who's going to do what and what's going to happen in worst case scenarios. That should be done in this section with your organizational management, regardless of the business structure that you have. So number 5 is critical. And it doesn't mean you can't start off as a sole proprietor and then move to a partnership or move to an LLC. These things are fluid. You still have to make different changes with the state, registration with the state, with the IRS tax documents, et cetera. But you still need to at least outline your original structure if you're just starting. And if you've already started your business, you might want to take a second look at how you have it structured right now. Maybe you can better that for your organization right now before you get further down the road. So step number 6, description of your product or services. In your business plan, this section is clearly going to define your product or your service as well as all the effort and resources that go into producing it. So if it's a service, you need to define where it begins, how far down the road you go with the client, for example. And if it's a business, we still need to know who's producing, where are you getting your product from, what are those sources, how does that flow look, what's that chain of product or service look like. So what goes into gathering all the product? How do you tie those loose ends together? So the strength of your product largely defines the success of your business. So it's imperative that you take the time to test and refine the product before launching into marketing, sales, and funding. So you really need to identify your service and your product right up front and look at that whole chain. If there's a disruption in the supply chain, what's it going to do to your business? If all of a sudden, we're looking for drill bits, and so we're looking for long metal rods that we're going to be able to tool down and get the spiral grooves and maybe diamond tip them and all that stuff. If we lose a source for our raw components, what's our backup plan? Do we have multiple suppliers in that supply chain that we can look at? So we need to dive deep into our product and service area to figure out what we're going to do to service that client. Okay. All kinds of things can jump into that, but take a deep look at that. And so when you're looking at that, questions to answer in that section would be, what is the product? Easily enough. What's your product or service? How do we produce it? This is question number 2. How do we produce it? What resources are necessary for production? If you're offering a service, what are resources are necessary to keep that service going? Right? You might need a website, a web page, social media accounts. You might have to have upgrade your internet service, for example, so that you're able to communicate with your clients. If you're doing cross-country business or cross the world business, you need to have upgraded software and hardware to be able to complete that. So you might be looking for a different internet provider to get your business off the ground. You might have to get cabling put into your house if you don't have strong enough wireless. I can tell you one story. When I was on city council, we had people who moved into the valley from California because they loved everything we had in Montana, and they moved out here, and they were all set up to do telecommuting, teleworking from out here. They bought a beautiful piece of property. It was outside of Kalispell proper, and it didn't have any wireless service, and it didn't have any cable service. So here they came out with this whole business plan to set their stuff up, and they were writing letters to the city of Kalispell, which had nothing to do with where they lived, and they were complaining because they didn't have services to do business. So those are things, if you had a business plan and you're looking at the description of your product or services, those are things you need to identify up front, right out of the gate, before you do investment. So these people bought, $1 million property, sold what they had, moved out here, and found out they couldn't even execute on their business plan. So don't make those kind of mistakes. It can be fundamentally flawed if you are not prepared. So that seems obvious, but apparently it isn't obvious. These are intelligent people who can make mistakes. So be thinking big, large picture. Get up to the 30,000 foot range, look down at your business and think, do I have all my bases covered? What are the contingency plans? So that's just description of products and services. Now let's move. You've got all that lined out. You've got your competitive analysis, your organizational management. You've described your product and services. Now you have to market it. And this is where it gets fun and exciting and maybe even expensive. So we need to get this part right. Your marketing plan. In this section, you're defining your strategy for your product or service. It doesn't need to be all fleshed out. At this point, a marketing plan can be a completely separate document, in fact, but you need to at least highlight it and address it in your business plan. And it should answer some of these basic questions. Who is the target market? If it's different from your existing customer base, right? You've already addressed that. What channels will you use to reach that market? So how will you find and engage that target market? Next, what resources does your marketing strategy require? Okay, do you have access to them? Are you going to need talent agencies? Are you going to need to hire somebody to be able to get your product, your service in front of that market? Next, if possible, do you have a rough estimate of a timeline and a budget? Again, a marketing plan can exist completely separate from a business plan, but you need to at least be addressing what's it going to cost you to market this? Are you going to be buying online ads? Are you going to be buying traditional radio ads? If you've got a brick and mortar business, are you going to be buying radio, TV, billboards? Are you going to do flyers, mailers, magazine ads on a national basis? There are so many different things. How are you going to promote your business? And on top of that, and this is imperative, it's part of your marketing plan, how are you going to measure the success of that marketing plan? Because you need to be able to track if you're spending dollars or if you're spending man hours to try and get customers and service customers, you need to know you're actually making a difference. You're actually reaching them and they're responding to you. So I'm going to stop for a quick second here and briefly talk. We'll go into more detail in a future lesson, but the difference between marketing and advertising. Marketing is more about branding and establishing yourself in the marketplace, spreading a broad net. Advertising is more like fishing. You're looking for that one fish, okay? So advertising is typically about product, price, and promotion. Think the 3 Ps. You've got a product or a service, and you're running a special, and you're running a promotion for it. And so you can actually measure that. You're running an ad, one specific ad to try and get a customer in. Marketing, you're getting your name out there. You're getting recognition. You're getting people to know who you are and what you do. So you can't necessarily think, well, my marketing campaign's not working, because maybe it is. Maybe you're getting that name recognition. They just haven't had an offer to cause them to do something yet. So the difference between marketing and advertising, those lines can be blurred and they do overlap at times. But remember, you need to know what works and what doesn't. Okay, number 8, your sales plan. This is fun. Write an overview of your sales strategy. And I know most of you have already done this, but now is a good time to take another look at it. Is what you set up working as well as you wanted it to? What small tweaks can you do to make it better? So it's time to write those goals down. I mean, a business plan is not something that you just write once and then put in a file cabinet and put it away. This is something you bring out, look at it, evaluate it, and see if you want to make changes and upgrades to anything. So what are your goals? And do this for each cycle. If you're advertising on a quarterly basis or a monthly basis, what are your goals? Did you achieve them? What are the metrics that you're using for success? And what data are you gathering? How are you getting the data so you can track it? So for the purposes of a business plan, this section, the sales plan section, doesn't need to be comprehensive like the marketing plan or in depth, but it can simply outline your high level objectives. Okay. What are your strategies for your sales effort? So at least have a brief strategy in there. It doesn't have to go into detail, but you need to address it. And again, if you've already got this part done, now is the time to go back, maybe have your sales plan as a separate document and really dive in. Same with your marketing plan. Answer these few questions. These will help you with your sales plan. What is your sales strategy? If you're just starting up, are you going to want sales reps? Do you want to do trade shows? Do you want to do one-on-ones? Are you going to be doing commission work? What is the sales strategy? How are you going to get out there and actually get that customer? What are the tools and tactics you will use to achieve your goals? What are the potential obstacles and how will you overcome them? All right. If there are already so many varieties out there, how are you going to differentiate yourself from what other people are doing? What is the timeline for your sales and turning it into a profit? And what are your metrics for success? How are you going to measure that stuff? So those are just some questions to ask in the sales plan portion. Number 9, funding details or request for funding. If you're self-funding and you're doing your own startup and you're going to put all the sweat equity into this business and do it all on your own, that's fine, but you should still have a budget. What's your budget going to be for funding? What do you need to get started? Where are you going to cap it? You know, are you going to have a little bit of cush in case you've underestimated on some things? If there's inflation, prices go up. If there's a strike and all of a sudden you need to go to a different supplier and pay more for the same thing that you've been getting to keep the flow going, do you have a cushion there? Have you built that in? If you're getting small business loan funding, you know, what are you going to do? How much are you factoring in the interest rate that you're going to have to pay that loan back? Is your strategy, your timeline for making a profit going to be in line with the repayment schedule for that loan? So you have to start looking at your funding details. When do you want to break even? What's going to be required from lenders? Or if you're grants, if you go after government grants for something that you've created or are marketing, if you go after grants, are you equipped to write the grants, or are you going to have to hire a grant writer? You know, there's a cost associated with that too. What are those sources? Again, you're going to have to really define that niche market so that they can be specific and write those grants toward that end. So how much capital do you currently have? How much do you need? How will you grow your team? How will you onboard? How's it going to be structured? How are you going to handle training and development of your team if you're not just going to stay as a sole proprietor or as a partnership? If you're growing, if your intent is to grow, you need to have a plan for how that's going to be funded. You bring on employees, you've got more overhead. You have to have a plan for how you're going to fund that. And what are the physical needs and constraints? Are you going to need space and equipment? Are you going to have a brick and mortar building? What's the lease going to be? What's it going to cost to buy that building? What are the tax liabilities for that sort of thing? So we need to have all that lined out. What do you need? How much money do you need to fund everything it takes to get your business from point A to point B? And again, you might already have started this, but let's take it to the next level. Now you've got it off the ground. What's it going to take? How much is it going to take to get you to your next level, your next goal? And number 10, finally, your financial projections. Apart from fundraising analysis, investors like to see a thought out financial projection for the future. That's that break even time. So as discussed, we've already talked about this, the scope and the stage of your business. This could be anywhere from 1 to 5 years. But while those projections won't always be exact, you need to have some flexibility built in. You should be able to gauge a couple of things. How and when will the company first generate a profit? You should at least have that dialed in. How long do you think it'll take to generate a profit? And how will the company maintain profit thereafter? How are you going to do that? So you need to address those things. What you're going to have to do a little bit of analysis. What are the costs of your goods, delivery, the manpower, the upkeep, the equipment, the leases? You have to take a look at all those costs, project that out on a timeline, and look at it based on your income. When's that break even point? All right. So all of those things, whether it's a short term, we're starting with the short term, the setup, and then midterm, you're going to try and entrench yourself in that market. And that's where hopefully you're going to make a profit. And then your long-term goal should be, what are you going to do next? Are you going to grow your business? Are you going to franchise it? Do you have a growth plan? Are you going to expand? Are you going to hire more people? Or are you trying to build a business to sell it? You know, we've got a senator from Montana and a governor of Montana that both were in software startups. And then they sold them for hundreds of millions of dollars. So their goal was to start a software company, get this thing started, and then sell it. That was part of their business strategy, was to build it and sell it. Elon Musk, same thing. He started things and sold them, and then acquired other things. But you still have to have a goal for your business. What is the growth goal? Your long-term goal should be growth. Where are you headed? You should have a big goal for this. What is it you want to do? And then lastly, and I'm throwing this in, it's not part of the business plan, but I want to plant the seed, because when you start getting into your business structure and your bylaws, you definitely want to have a succession plan. What happens if someone's injured, incapacitated, retires, resigns? What happens then? What happens in that business in the case if somebody's injured on the job and they can't work for 6 months? What's going to happen next? You should at least have that thought in mind. What's going to happen? How do you keep this train moving down the tracks if one of the major players is sidelined for a bit. Okay. So the whole point is you need to think long term, look at worst case scenarios. We're all excited about business. We always want to look at the best and go from there. But we need to also be realistic about our planning. And we also need to be looking at worst case scenarios, especially if we're looking for outside funding or we're not independently wealthy. And if this is not just a hobby business, but it's something that is going to be sustaining you and your family and your lifestyle, we definitely need to have some really solid plans in place. So that's going to be your wrap for business plan basics. We've covered the top 10 things, the importance of a business plan, and we dove into those 10 topics briefly. As we move forward in the following lessons, as we go through 32 lessons, we're going to dive deeper into each one of these areas and expand on that and really get you to be able to dial in and understand what's going on with all of this. And it gives you a chance to just constantly refine, retool, rework your own business and strategies. So that's it for this session. I appreciate it. I think I got it close to the 20 minutes, might have gone over, or 30 minutes, might have gone over just a little bit, but that's a wrap on this section. I am going to open it up for first, before we go to questions. I actually tasked Riley with this. This is a warm up to what we're going to be doing. We're going to be highlighting members going forward. At least once a month, we're going to be highlighting a member. So I'm giving you a little taste. Riley, I gave her a heads up today just to give us a quick presentation of what she's doing. So if you would unmute Riley and give us a quick presentation, tell us what's going on with your business or businesses, and let us know where you're at and what we can do to help.
Yeah, so those of you that don't know what my business is, so I launched in September of 2024, I launched a mobile hat bar and boutique. So I do pop-up events, private events, and I do customized hats, hat shaping, customized hat sizing, and all that jazz. After launching in September, I actually launched on my birthday, which is fun. Launching in September, I have done like seven, I think it's 8 or 9, 7 or 8 pop-up events between September and the end of the year. And then I've taken kind of I took kind of like a holiday break, and I didn't have anything super lined up for January, which now I'm working on getting January. I have a meeting tomorrow actually to do some more pop-up events, and it's been going good. I've learned a lot. I've had successful events. Actually, all of them have been successful, just successful because like we have a tendency, right, to gauge, or I have a tendency to gauge my successfulness on my profitability. And so all of them have been successful. Some of them have been more profitable than others. And I've learned a lot about being really intentional with who you're partnering with for these events, which has also taught me what's important to me when I'm partnering with other businesses or organizations about what I expect, that I'm also bringing that same thing to the table. So going into this next year, I am working on, I'm renovating a full-size school bus with the help of some people. And I'm hoping that is going to launch in June, that I'll actually be able to go to events, not all events, obviously, because they won't all work, but go to events with my bus, and it'll be a mobile hat bar that I can go places with, which I'm really excited with. The dream is to be, at the Big Fork Rodeo or the Brash Rodeo or under the big sky and be doing custom hats. That is the dream. And so I'd like to get there. The bus has to get finished. There's been some setbacks with that. I am currently, if anybody knows anyone in the area, in the Flathead area, that wants just like a fun project that won't make them any money to do some electrical work, that would be great, because my person that was going to do my electrical work I had some serious things happen in their family, and I don't think they're going to be available anymore. So now I have to find someone else to do that. So I'm working on that. Some struggles that I have had or that I am having is this. I mean, this is my business, but I have other things that I do as a sole proprietor. Like I do some like business operations consulting type stuff, and that takes up a large chunk of my time. And so I need to be better at blocking out time specifically for working on this business, and also like blocking out time to work on mastering my craft, because I custom shape and crease hats and everything. So those are some of the struggles. And also one of my goals is I need to actually work out my whole platform for how I send out proposals, because I have been sending out proposals, but it's not super, I'd like it to be more automated. It takes a lot of manual editing to send those out. And yeah, and then continuing to grow my social media and whatnot and my brand. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, the first thing I want to mention is that you are actually trained, right? In hat shape.
I'm certified.
I mean, you're certified. So
Yes.
there's that unique, that's what makes you unique. You're not just selling hats, right?
No.
You're not just selling hats out of a bus or out of a booth. I mean, you are a certified hat shaper. So you can, if someone's got a $300 hat, you can actually fix it if they've sat on it, ran over it, horse stomped it or something. So
left it in their truck, in a hot truck.
yeah.
Yes.
So is that part of your messaging when you're sending stuff out too, that are you putting that in your messaging that you are certified and one of two in the whole valley, maybe?
I think maybe 3. I don't know. So I know that like Kemosabe just opened up here in the valley, and they have hat shapers there, but they might all be trained internally and not like an actual certified, like where they could do all the different hat shapes and everything. So I just got my certification at the end of November, and it's kind of one of those things, because it is like I got certified, but you have to master the craft, and if you don't use it, you lose it type with anything, right? And so I haven't really pushed that messaging much on my my socials and everything yet, because I want to feel a little bit more confident with it before I put it out there. And also the other caveat with that is that, so I started my inventory of what I have I call like kind of my tier 1 inventory. They're pre-shaped hats. They're not made from the high end materials. They're not, they're not like a 10X hat and stuff. But I do want to start pushing that, but I also need to get the inventory in, that's kind of been a struggle too, is trying to figure out how do I transition out of my tier 1 into my, next tier, I would say, that I want to do. They're a more expensive hat. They take more, they're more cost for me and everything. And so that's been, so I haven't pushed as much yet, because I'm trying to figure out how do I bridge that gap, I guess.
It looks like business plan 2.0.
Yes. Yes. That's what I was going to say going through this call, is that I built my business plan out in one way, and then I've had things change and things,
sure.
I've had to adapt to different things and whatnot. And then I was thinking on this call, I could probably need to kind of go back through and revamp what that looks like.
Yeah. And, this is a perfect time of year to do that. And you're already doing it mentally. Yeah. So I'll task all of you on this call, really pull it back up and put it on paper. Put those changes on paper, and it will give you something to hold yourself accountable to, moving forward. So it's okay that you're recognizing these things. That's number 1. You're identifying where those needs are. So now figure out the solution to those. And if you need help, obviously sounds like you've already got it. You just need to.
I think it's just implementing it sometimes. Yeah, exactly. It's execute.
Execute. Yeah. And we all have trouble with that.
Yeah.
Well, that's perfect. Well, thank you, Riley. That's a great update. And I know you're juggling several different things, but I have to say I'm proud of you, number one. I'm excited about the opportunity and the fact that you're reaching out. You're doing everything, and figuring out what works and what doesn't. And that's what makes an entrepreneur, right? Figuring it out.
Yes. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Do we have any other questions tonight? Has this been helpful? Everybody ready to dust off their business plans and move forward? Taylor's got a thumbs up. I know we had a bunch of sicknesses. It's in my household, right? But I was saying earlier tonight when we first jumped on, we've got people who are sick in Washington, D.C., Chicago, and California. I mean, we've got from coast to coast, so there's something's in the air. I think it's called winter. But anyway, I wish everyone good health. And one thing I did want to mention that I forgot to mention, and I'll use this just as an example. When we were developing Yes, and this goes back almost 3 years, what we wanted to do was train, coach, inspire, and develop. Those were the 4 core areas. We knew what we wanted to do and how we wanted to help people. Train, coach, inspire, and develop. And that's part of our mission, right? So right at the front of our business plan, if we go back to that, we start right off with description of the business. That was number 2. Describing the business, all of our promotional materials have that on there, right? It actually helped us brand our merchandise. It helped us brand who we are and what we do. It's a constant reminder. So when we give you these tips and we're looking at these things, it should help you strategize what you're doing. It should help you push your message at all times. So it's not just a business plan that's on paper and then you follow through with it. It's something that you can rely on to build the next step, your marketing, your sales, and just a reminder of who we are and what we're doing all the time. So I think that's always helpful. So Taylor said she loved the presentation. Thanks. We're doing a little bit different here. I'll share this with you guys because we are also building out a video curriculum for OutSchool in California. We're already licensed and set up. And so this is going to be more for high school students. So the lessons that we have are really going to be condensed, but they're applicable to everything we do here. So I think you're going to see a little bit different format. We're going to try and keep everything at 30 minutes and we still have all the time for questions and answers. But it really is, I think it's fundamental. I'm excited about this year because we're getting back to the basics. And every time we see businesses struggle, business people struggle, it's because they've stepped away from the basics. And so for all of us to get back on track, I think it's critical. Jim, Rachel, we are so excited for 2025. We've got so many things that we're just, pushing that next level. When do we scale? How do we scale, right? All the things that you guys are looking at doing with your businesses, we are doing those as well. So we're in the struggle with you and embracing it wholeheartely. So I hope you can see and feel our enthusiasm and our excitement for what we're doing. And I'm just glad you guys are all here and along for the ride. It's an absolute pleasure to watch you grow, to connect with you. The one-on-one conversations we have outside of here. I'm proud of each and every one of you. And especially those of you on this call tonight, I've seen your businesses start up and ramp up and move forward. It is absolutely exciting and thrilling. It really is. It's like having a kid and watching them grow up and, go to West Point, go to college, get married, have kids. It's exciting. So I hope we can bring that enthusiasm each and every call. And I think it's absolutely awesome. Any other questions, comments? Stay healthy, stay hydrated. That it? I see smiles, applause. I'll take it at that. Well, we've ended up 5 minutes early. I'll let you go do what you've got to do. I've got to do an outside workout yet for 75 hard. So my next step. Day 8. You know what the hardest part's been? Remembering to take a picture every day. So little things. We all have our challenges.
Yeah.
All right. And Riley, thanks for stepping up tonight. It's kind of a great launch pad for what we're going to be asking the rest of you to do. If you need something from the group or just ideas, somebody to bounce something off of, call us anytime. All right.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Awesome.
Good, thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Heidi.
Good job,
Good night.
Riley.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.